Let's move on to the next topic. So let's talk about functions, right? Let's talk about functions. I hope everybody's getting it so far. Let's talk about functions. Now, when we talk about functions, functions are block of code written to perform a specific task. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and explain what this means. So when we talk about functions, right? So for instance, this fan has a function, right? And the function is to what? Make everybody feel a little bit of air or breeze, cool down a little bit. Now, that is what the fan is all about. Now, for this fan to work, there is a function programmed to it to perform that specific task. That's exactly what function means. You understand it now? For you to write any code, for you to perform any particular login, sign up, this, that, you have to create a function. And sometimes functions are created in sub-functions. I don't want to say sub-functions, let's say modules. Like we explained before, I said modules are like functions written that you can reuse in multiple files, right? So sometimes functions are just specifically created for what? That particular task. Now, how then do you now write functions? You write functions in two ways. Go ahead and talk about the functions. You write functions using what? Your normal function keywords, or you use your what? Arrow functions. I'm going to talk about function keyword first before moving on to arrow functions. Now, what do we mean? Let's say you want to write a function that multiplies two numbers together. How then do you now go ahead to do it? I'm just going to go ahead and delete whatever I think we've done before so that I can have more this thing to use. Now, let's say function, right? We're going to call it multiply. Multiply. Now, I'm multiplying two numbers. So I'm going to call this num1 and num2. Now, one thing that you need to know is that your functions, I'm going to explain certain things here. So I'm going to say, so for instance, let's say, for you to write a function, you have to take in three things into consideration. Your function keyword, right? Now, this function keyword basically states that this is a function. You understand? That's if you're using the normal function keyword. It states that this is a function. Now, the next thing is that what you now have arguments. Or okay, not really arguments. I'm going to use trying to like look for the word. Let's say purpose. Good. Purpose of the function. Right? Now, what's the purpose of this function? Is to multiply two numbers, right? Now, the purpose of the function can now be like your variable. Right? Now, that is why I said function, which is what? Multiply. This your multiply is your function name. Right? Let me just write function name. Right? Now, this particular function name can now help you call out that particular function. I want you to understand this. First, to define your function, use your what? Function keyword. The next is your function name to really talk about what that function is about. Now, the third thing that you now need to put into consideration is will now be what? The function body, which is now the code that will be executed when the function is called. And now the last thing is now what? Calling out your function. Now this invokes the function by its name and passing the required argument. I'm going to explain what I'm trying to say. So first of all, let me remove this particular parameter so that you understand what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to remove it. Now, as you can see, function, which is our function name, right? Our function keyword. Multiply, which is our function name. And then inside of this block of code is where your function code or the body goes into. Now, this is what happens. This is what gets executed when that function is called. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say console.log 2 times 3. 2 times 3. Now, if I go ahead and call my function, what's my function name? Multiply, right? Now, what happens in the console? Check it out. You have 6. What happens? That's a function block. Now, I want you to know something. If you don't write your function this way, it is never going to get called. Your function goes through 3 steps. First, initializing your function by what? Setting that function. Secondly, giving your function a purpose. What does that function do? Then the third thing is what? Calling your function. Just like your fan goes through 3 things. First is what? You have to like turn it on. No, not even that. First is giving that particular fan a purpose, which is to what? Make sure that it works. Calling it a name, which is what? Fan. Then the third thing is what? Calling out your fan, which is what? To turn it on. The same thing here. Do you understand it now? You've called the name. The name is what? Multiply. Giving it a name, multiply. Giving it a function, a purpose, which is what? Multiply 2 numbers. And then the third thing is what? Multiply. Now, you now have another interesting way of what? Writing your functions. Now, what is that interesting way? I'm just going to comment this one out. What is that interesting way? The interesting way is to add parameters or arguments. Now, what are arguments? What are parameters? Parameters are like variables, right? Or things that they are locally scoped variables. Let's put it like that. Remember when I talked about global and local scope? Are we here? Global variables and local variables. That global is like, general. Local is made for that particular scope. Now, let's now say we want to give this particular function a local scope. So I can say function, right? Multiply. Now, I want to multiply 2 values, num1 and num2. So I can now return num1 times num2. Now, this right here is the value, is what your function needs to run, isn't it? Now, I can go out here and I can call num1 and num2. I can say multiply, let's say 2, 3. Now, automatically, what happens is that what you're not going to have num1 as what? 2, num3 as what? Sorry, num2 as what? 3. Now, if I go ahead and say console.log and multiply 2, 3. Let me remove this. Now, what exactly are we going to have? You're going to see now, you're going to have what? 6. Now, in this case, in this beginning here, what did you do? You just said console.log 2 times 3. You understand? That is like straightforward. Trust me, this is hard-coded. This is not really going to give you that, much freedom to create as much functionalities as you want. Do you understand now? But in this case now, what you did was that you just said you gave it 2 parameters, num1 and num2. So you now said, oh, in this particular function, return num1 and num2. Then you now went down here and said console.log multiply. Num1 is now what? 2. Num3 is now what? Sorry, num2 is now what? 3. Now, return is a keyword used in performing a specific function. So what am I saying? If I say return 2 plus 3, the answer is supposed to give you what? 5. That's what return does for you. It just automatically says, okay, if this particular function is being called, then do whatever is in that return keyword. Do you understand? That's what return is. Now, if I go ahead and I change this from 2 to 3, if I say, oh, I'm changing this to 5, what happened? Then I can now easily see what? I'm going to save it up. And then we should easily see 15. Now we can make it much more, functional. I can say, oh, let's okay, I can say, I'm trying to look for this thing that we can use. Let me remove this console.log. So I can easily come here, I can say num1 equals to what? Prompt, enter first number, right? Then I can also do the same thing for num2 enter second number. Then I can say console.log multiply num1 and num2. Now this is much more practical. And it says I'm allowing users to enter their first number, users to enter their second number, and then I can multiply. Now let us check what happens. And if I refresh num1, if I say 1, click OK. Second number 5. Okay. As you can see, 5. It's a function to multiply to number. If I say, okay, let's see first number 100, second number 5. What do you have? 500. Now that is another way of writing much more, how do I put it? So it just allows you much more functionality, making you write flexible code. So as you can see, this is giving you the value that you wanted. So num1 right here is locally scoped, only applicable to this variable. Is it clear to everybody? It's not clear. What's the issue?
It's clear. Well, when do you use that first function? And when do you use that?
Which first function? This one. This one.
This function multiply num1. No, not that one. Yes. Is there like a time you can use this function? Is there like time?
This is just an example, right? You have a lot of functions that you write yourself. So you can think of one function. For instance, that login is a function. A whole lot of function code. Now, functions, as I said, they are meant to perform a specific task. You think of the task that you want to perform, and then you write a function to perform that task. So it is you that will write an algorithm, a code to perform that. So it's not that you have to put in the function in your head or cram functions. You can't cram functions. You have to write functions yourself. So this one now, I wrote a function to take in 2 input from two users, and then multiply their input. What's the first input? Num1. What's the second input? Num2. Then I returned it. Then I came down and I said, okay, num1 equals what? Prompt, enter first number, num2, enter second number. Then I now automatically multiplied whatever result I'm getting from them. Do you get it now? Like that's exactly what it is. So it's not, you have to go ahead and create a specific system for them. Now that's basically what it is. So this is what your function is all about. Do you understand function? Now I'm going to do the same thing with arrow functions. So you see how it is. Now arrow functions are similar to it, similar to this. The only difference is that the function keyword is now eradicated in arrow function from arrow functions. So how do you use arrow functions? You just go ahead and say, oh, const multiply, right, equals to what? Then I'm going to have num1, num2. Now, as you can see, almost the same syntax, but just that the only thing different is the what? Is this particular first syntax that is here, right? So instead of saying function multiply num1 and num2, what do you have? Const multiply equals to, normally if you want to write your const, right, what do you write? Const keyword equals to, then you can write whatever it is you want to write, function. Do you get it? Now, it's the same thing as your arrow function. Your arrow function, you start with your const. You can use let too. But since functions are mostly not going to change, they should not be allowed to be declared or reassigned or anything. They have to be strict. You are advised to use what? Const. And I can say multiply equals to what? Then I have this. Then my arrow. Now this is this place that my parameters will now go to. I can have num1, num2. Then I can say return num1 times what? Num2. Then I can go ahead and still do the same thing here. If I can do it instead of this, I can say num1 equals to prompt enter first number. Similarly, num2 enter second number. Then outside here, I just go ahead and say console.log multiply num1 and what? Num2. It's the same thing that I have done here, but in a much more cleaner way. I feel like this is more cleaner than this. Now, if you go ahead and you check it out, refresh, and then so Sorry, that's a mistake. I should not put it inside here. I should put it outside. Now, if you check it out now, it should work. Okay, refresh. Num1, let's put 1,000 or 10,000. Okay, num2, 2. So what do you have? 20,000. So it still works. Now that is what your arrow function is all about. So you can choose to use arrow functions, or you can choose to use another function. But because this is ES6 time, and whatever it is you'll be doing, moving going forward is going to be in ES6, like ECMAScript 6. I think I explained the history of JavaScript to us also. So because of that, you want to use modern ways of writing JavaScript. So that's why arrow functions are advisable. So do we understand functions? Is it clear to us? Before moving on to the next thing. Yes, sir. See? Yeah, even if you write the name, you can write any name here. It does not matter. But I always say something. Any name that you write here, make it make meaning, make sense. Make sure that it really talks about what you are doing, because you cannot just write codes anyhow. It has to make sense. But you can write, I can put 8 here and it works. But if someone else that is reading your code sees A, they'll be like, what is this person writing here? Because you're not going to be the only one working on a project. It has to be with multiple people. Do you get it? That's why it has to be like that. Is it clear to everybody? So I think function is basically what a lot of us are having issues with. Right? Do you understand function?
Boss,
Yes, sir.
please, this function, is there a particular difference between function and this const that you use? This constant that you use?
Sorry, I don't know if I got the question. Are you saying, is there a difference between function and constant? Or is there a difference between function keyword that I used here and this constant that I used here?
Yes, is there a difference? Yes, exactly.
Yes, actually, there's a major difference. There's a lot of difference. Let's just search for it so you see it. So major differences between function keywords and arrow function. In JavaScript. So let us check it. So first of all, we have key differences. Now, I think we've talked about this and .10 before, but I'm not going to go deep into it. Now, first of all is traditional functions have their own this context, which changes depending on how the function is called, right? Arrow functions do not have their own this; they inherit it from surrounding lexical scope. Okay, I think let me look for a better something much more simpler to explain with. So let's use this. Good. Now, for instance, now I need you to check something. Trying to see if I don't think I'm seeing what I want to see. Oh, everything here is under not even that. It's like something that if I go into now, we'll have to like talk about a lot of things. Okay, I'm seeing constructors and all. Okay, let's just go in. Let me just explain Oyster now, so everybody understand what I'm trying to say. Now, when we talk about Oyster, now it says traditional function declarations are hoisted, allowing them to be called before they appear in the code. arrow functions are assigned to variables expression and are not hoisted. That means they cannot be used before they are initialized. Now, let me give a very important example of what I'm trying to say. So, for instance, let's say you have let's say you have this. Let me remove this. Let me remove this. Let's call it set timeout function. Please, I need to understand what hoisting is. Hoisting. Maybe this is the best time to explain hoisting. Now, let's talk about hoisting. Now, hoisting is a JavaScript behavior of moving declaration to the top of the current scope, script or function. I'm going to explain what this is. Now, so for instance, let's say set timeout, right? And we're going to have 3,000 milliseconds. 3,000 milliseconds. Then I'm going to say console.log. This message is displayed after 3,000 seconds. Or I'm going to cut this. Now I'm going to create a function, right? And I'm going to say greet or display. Now, if I put this function out, as you can see, what has happened? I declare this function here. Normally, I'm supposed to call the function. Now, I can go ahead and call this particular function at the top here and say display. Now, if you check it out, check out your console, refresh it, wait for 3 seconds and see what happens. Can you see it? This message is displayed after 3 seconds. Came out. Now, let us change this function right here to an arrow function and let's see what happens. Now, if I say, oh, const display equals to what? The same thing that is here. And I say, this message is displayed after 3 seconds. Let's see if it works. Now, that's basically what hoisting is. I'm going to refresh it. Now, originally, okay, it's displaying, but originally, one thing about hoisting is saying that what traditional function declarations are hoisted, allowing them to be called before they appear in a code. Now, I really do not know why that is working. So, because originally arrow functions cannot be used before they are initialized. So let's see. Is it because I'm calling that set timeout function? Okay, let me try to do something else now. Control X. Let me call it out here, display. Now let us try it out and let's see what we have. Now, good. Can you see what I'm trying to say? Cannot what access display before initialization. Do you understand? So what is it saying? It's saying that what I cannot access this particular because it's an arrow function. I should not be able to access my function before initialization. But let me now try the same thing for this particular arrow functions and let's see what we have. And let me call out display before calling it out. So display. Now let us see it. Now, can you see the difference? This is a first difference. Now, this is what this message is what displayed after 3 seconds. Now, that's the major difference between your what's the name? Your arrow function and then your normal function. It is the major difference of hoisting. It's saying what the behavior of moving variable and function declarations to the top of their scope before code is executed. What is advisable to use is this. This particular arrow function can only be called before initialization if you are calling it in another function. For instance, when I used it in set timeout, it worked, right? But set timeout was declared before the what's the name? The arrow function, isn't it? Now, but when I use this one right here without set timeout function, it worked. There are sometimes that you want a particular function to like follow the normal order. You're not interested in it being called before the function is initialized. It gives you problem. Probably makes your code break. And that's one thing about hoisting. Hoisting automatically moves, when it comes to this normal function, it automatically moves function declaration towards the top. So like that, it's just like saying that you are, for instance, a baby is in the womb. You already named the baby before the baby came out, right? If you keep calling that baby, the baby is not going to answer you. First of all, the baby is not a live baby yet. It's not born yet. Do you understand? So there's every tendency that you're not going to get a response or you needed response. Now, but if it is a child that is now fully grown, that is out already, and then you call the child by the name, what happens? You get the response that you need, that you want. You understand? And that's exactly what it's talking about. So the best thing to use is what? Always use your arrow function so that whenever you declare variables before or you declare your functions before initializing them, it quickly gives you an error for it to what? Correct it out. Now, the only way you can now use variables, you can use functions before they are declared is if you put them in another function. And that's why when I used the word set timeout and I said display in this place, what happened? It automatically worked. And why is it working? Let me tell you why it is working. Set timeout is a what? Is what type of JavaScript? It's a function, yes, but what type of function? Yes, I help us out. Asynchronous, meaning that it runs independently and it does not really matter if a particular thing has run. That means putting it in asynchronous function, this particular one might have run, right? This particular display here, as you can see, might have been executed before this one gets executed. That is why it's going to work. You understand it now? That is one thing about what Oyster. That's the major difference. Oyster, right? And apart from that, it's always advisable to use this particular way of declaring your funds because it's the newer way and the most acceptable way now. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Mr. Pius.
Yes, I got it now.
You say?
Thank you.
Yeah. You say you were saying something. Just you can decide to use anyone. So I'm just going to call this one. Okay. And you can just use this. You can use anyone. Use the. All right. Now, we'll be talking about. But before we even go into anything, I want to ask a question. Which of these? I don't think I need to explain objects again. I don't think I need to explain arrays again because I know that a lot of us already understand. We did this together. So one thing I'm going to explain, I'm going to try and explain object. I can't explain arrays again. Arrays are very long that I know like a lot of us should understand by now. Then I'm going to explain objects and maybe explain DOM manipulation, right? So that we can understand how it works. Then maybe there's still time to talk about events. So is this clear to us? Is still charging? All right. So any question from anybody so far? Looks like everybody's just getting whatever you are doing today. It's a piece of cake, sharp, sharp. Everybody's getting it. Mapping. So just to digress a little bit, a lot of us are already working on our group projects. So I'll just ask those in class the updates, right? Mr. David, what's the update on your group project at the moment? You're in the same group. Okay. What's the update? Who has been working? Who has not been participating? What's left? Backend. Like what is left on the backend? You don't have any backend, so all is front end.
The parents are saying something about trying to make it functional, trying to make it small.
Mr. Shegun said he does not know his group. I mean, this is already the last, I don't know. Mr. Shegun is supposed to be in which person's group? We have two groups. Okay, so I'm just gonna ask, what's the update? When I say update, like you should probably tell me, oh, this is what we've done, this is what is left. That's what I'm interested in. Like this is what we've done so far. Why? That is a very important feature of the application. So why was it not included? Okay, I said that I was going to send a map API to him. Now, for instance, if you want to integrate map, right, into your application, it's not hard. You can use Google. I can see map APIs that can be integrated. Okay, map APIs, free map APIs. So Google is going to bring out a lot of them. You have Amazon Web Services. You have Google Maps, which is I feel like is the most recent. So I can just go ahead and say, oh, Google Maps API docs. So as you can see, Google Maps platform documentation. I can click on it, and then so I can also read on how it can work. So what exactly are you interested in doing? What you're interested in doing is places, right? You are basically interested in not just places, restaurants, right? Isn't it? That's what you're trying to do. So restaurant around you. So you can say, oh, I'm interested in maps, or I'm interested in places, right? So I can click on places. Oh, what exactly are you interested in doing? So you can see it. Places API and SDK. So integrate Google Place details, search, autocomplete, and AI generated summaries to your app. You have Places UI kit. This is basically talking about bring the familiar Google Maps user experience for places to your front-end use cases with a ready-to-use, customizable, and cost-effective component library. You have geocoding, geolocation, address validation. I don't think you need any of these three. What you need is this first two. So think about it. Which one matches what you need to do out of these first two? If you read it. Mr. Price, I'm also asking you, I think you're part of the group. So which one do you think matches what you need to implement into your app among these first two? Second one, which one?
I think for the first one, it's going to be.
Now, if you are using the second one, you click on it. Oh, second one. So what are you using for the second one? Is it Android creation, iOS, or what? JavaScript. JavaScript now. Click on it. It's going to take you to the implementation. How exactly can I implement it? So overview, you read it. It's like reading. So what all of you can do, so there are three. Like you can give each other tasks. Okay, read it, have a meeting. There's like something called code review. You sit down, have a meeting, like probably an hour or two. Sit down, read it, try and understand. Okay, the Places UI Kit component library lets you bring the familiar Google Maps user experience for places to your apps and web pages using the same data that powers the Places API. So now, basically what it does is that what place detail elements. Like for instance, it talks about opening hours, which is interesting for your restaurant. So nearby search and place text. It allows you add all of these features. So you can get started talk about understanding all of these things. Now, the major thing is what? Reading documentation. Reading documentation. Then you can, do not forget to get your API keys. Now, all of these things, you read documentation. Now, if you need help, you can also use YouTube. So you can say integrating Google Maps API in website. Google Maps API. You have a lot of YouTube tutorials to use for this. So get Google Maps API key or learn Google Maps API, JavaScript. As you can see, this is a tutorial that you can use to integrate it, right? But one thing about it is that since you already know what to do, they might be giving you another thing. But since you already know what to do, follow this tutorial and use it to integrate whatever it is you want to integrate. Now, this is a very nice way to learn. Because, yeah. Exactly. Or if you cannot understand it and you now, one thing is that if as you're trying to integrate it, you will run into issues. And so I'm there to like help you through those issues. Oh, how do I make sure that,
Yes.
for instance, I integrated this API? Okay, 1 minute, please. I integrated this API and I have problems. How do I integrate it? You see that my asynchronous code is wrong. That I cannot even check. Like this morning, I told Mr. Pius to like send me your GitHub link. Let me see it, check it out, and I'll go ahead and I'll give you reviews on it. Like that's ways to learn. Then once I make a particular what's the name? A particular update to it, I'll tell you what I did. Okay, this is how you should not run into such problems again. You learn from that. So that's exactly what I need everybody to do. So don't remove that app, that feature. That feature is like the most important feature in your application. Don't remove it. That's what makes you stand out. Yeah, Mr. Pius, please go ahead.
Yes, on the map issue, what I intended doing before was, if you remember, there was a time we had an assignment or a classwork like that. I think when we created a project, a small task that we should link. We should link that the address of it. We should do one birthday venue, and the link should be redirected to the address of the place. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I remember.
So that's something I intend doing with the map before. Like, I will just put the name, then link, get the address, the exact location from Google Map, then link it like that.
Yeah. Now the thing is that works, but you're not giving your application maximum need like that. Now, what's your application? What's the problem you're trying to solve? The problem you're trying to solve is that someone that likes going to restaurant that has never been to Benin should come on your application and search for any restaurant around them, and then they can get access to those restaurants, isn't it? Now, but on your application, you probably have just 4 or 5 restaurants that I'm seeing from what I saw. Now, you have a lot of restaurants in Benin. So 4 or 5 restaurants is not going to cut. What if the person is in a place whereby they are far from wherever you are trying to put them? What happens? Will you tell them that, they should now start going around Benin that they don't know to just get to the restaurant they are talking about? Now, that's going to give them a problem. So you're trying to solve their problem. You are giving them more problems. What you can do is integrate that API, create a search button or a search feature in your application, a page that just allows them search for whatever it is that they want to search for, and then get access to. I think I told you this too. Yeah, I can do that to like wrap it up around those links. But if you think about it, it's not solving any problem. It is just allowing you add code, whatever features is you want to add code into it. So the best thing to do is use this Google Map API. I think I want everybody to implement it. I want you to implement, because you've done Firebase. Firebase is also from Google. Google APIs are similar. You understand? So they are all similar. Google Map API, you have similar ways of integrating it. So just read the documentation. I'm going to send this YouTube video now that I just saw, this particular YouTube video, so that it's not going to be as if, I did help. Now I want everybody to go ahead and try that, and I need everybody to work on it. So I'm going to share this code so you can go ahead and work on it. So I'm going to share the code now, and yeah, copy it and paste it on this place. So try as much as possible to read. I think you have 2 weeks max to implement this. Then I'm going to send the API to you also. Now this is the API, Google Maps API. So I'm going to send it to you also. Try as much as possible to do this. It's important. Please. It's very, very much important. The API and then YouTube. Just try and watch it and implement it. If you know you have issues, I am happy to give 30 minutes of my time or 1 hour of my time to like go over it with us. I can review it on the call, check it, and I know how we can go about it. Yeah, so that's that. Then Mr. Shegun said he does not know his group. So I don't know who else is. Then Mr. Pyle said he does not know the third person. Please, who is this? Who is this third person?
David.
That's not you. So you have Mr. Piles, you have Mr. Gochi, then there's one person here. Who is this person supposed to be in front end?
Okay.
John is in Miss
Is Alex.
Alex is not. Alex is in Miss Favor's group. Are you in group A or in group A? Exactly. So
Maybe it's Mr. Shegun.
no, I don't know if he's the one.
Mr. Shegun before.
I think he is. I don't think he's the one. I think that's not him. That's not him. So whoever this is, I do not know who this is. But again, I need everybody to like share as much as possible to work on this project. It's important. Then, and one thing is that everybody should know their strength. So, for instance, you're working in a company. Not everybody is a back-end developer. Not everybody is a front-end developer. In fact, while working on front-end applications, not everybody is going to work on functionality. Not everybody is going to work on design. Know your strength. Oh, I'm having a meeting. I want to work on this project. I don't sabi JavaScript that much. I don't understand how to create designs. This is what I can do. Tell them, oh, this is what I can do. They will put you in what you can do. The goal is collaborate, work on something. That's the goal. So if you cannot implement a map feature, who can implement map feature? Know the person, have a meeting. That's the point. That's the point. Honestly, it's not that you just go ghost on a particular group. It's not fair at all that certain people are working on a project that you're supposed to work on. You're not going to learn that way, and it's not fair on your teammates. So please, as much as possible, try as much as possible to work on these people. So that's that on the first group. Yeah, Mr. Shaggy, you can definitely join that group also. You can join the group, and they will add you to the. So for your presentation, there is like a there should be a PDF. No, not really a PDF. There should be like a PowerPoint slide that will include everybody that worked on it. Now, not everybody in your group, everybody that worked on it. That's what we will not use in our team, because you also have to add the link to whatever it is you worked on to your portal. So I'm going to create a field there whereby you can submit this project to your portal. Now, it is that link, that name that we saw. You're going to okay, this person worked on, this person does not work on it. So we need to know who and who didn't work on these things. So that's for group 1. Group 2. Group 2 is I think Mr. Shegun should join Miss Favor's group, because we have just 2 active people on that group, which is according to Miss Favor, Miss Favor and Mr. Isosa are the only 2 active people. I don't know. She said he's not been around for the project. Okay, I've actually written. I don't know, but according to them, they said, yeah. Mr. Kelvin is on this corner. Yes. So what's the update, Miss Favor? Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. We only have 2 active, just me and Mr.